It wasn't until I died at the hands of the Void Legion that I realized I was the original protagonist of a novel called The Transmigrator. The new guy, a transmigrator from another world, had used his foreknowledge to siphon away my destiny. Since his arrival at the Argent Spire Academy, my training had hit a wall, and every expedition into the fractured dimensions yielded nothing. When the Void Legion eventually besieged our stronghold, I died a miserable death on the front lines. Meanwhile, the transmigrator, Caleb Ford, broke through to the Paragon rank in the heat of battle, leading the Academy to victory. But apparently, the universe wasn't done with me. I woke up. Julian, this is for you. Caleb looked at me with wide, expectant eyes, his hand outstretched to reveal a protective amulet. This overwhelming sense of déjà vu confirmed it. I had been reborn. The amulet in Caleb's hand was one of the primary catalysts he used to steal the destiny of others. In my past life, disarmed by his harmless smile, I had let him get close. I accepted his gifts without suspicion, often feeling embarrassed that I had nothing to give in return. But behind that innocent mask, he had been fleecing me dry. We're friends, aren't we, Julian? Friends don't keep score. Just take it. Julian, I found this spirit herb. It's yours. Don't worry, I have plenty. Julian, let's team up for the next dimension run. I can watch your back. The senior students who adored him couldn't stand that he was always looking out for me, so they targeted me relentlessly. Julian Vane, stay away from Caleb. Look at your pathetic power levels. What gives you the right to be his friend? Exactly. Caleb only pities you because you started in the same intake class. You're dead weight. Julian, take some advice from a senior. Don't drag Caleb down. It's bad for both of you. Caleb, listen to us. Julian is only hanging around you for your resources. He's manipulative. We're just trying to protect you. They couldn't have been more wrong. It was Caleb who was calculating, desperate to maintain our friendship. But in this life, regardless of the reason, I gradually cut ties with him. Until the Void Legion stormed the Argent Spire, and I, with my stunted powers, was sent to the vanguard as cannon fodder. I didn't last a minute against the horrors of the Void. As I lay dying, I felt something essential draining from my soul. My vision faded as I watched Caleb trigger a lightning storm, ascending to Paragon rank and slaughtering the demons. When I closed my eyes, the plot downloaded into my brain. I realized my world was the setting of a web novel titled after transmigrating. I used the system to steal the protagonist's luck. Caleb was the system user, and I was the legacy protagonist. He got close to me to facilitate the exchange system, swapping his trash for my talent and destiny. Because he always managed to turn danger into opportunity and showered the seniors with benefits, he became the Academy's golden boy. The establishment poured every resource into him, making him the only ascendant in a century to transcend this plane. I became nothing more than a stepping stone, forgotten by history. My mind cleared. I looked at Caleb's ingratiating, friendly smile. My tone was icy. Thanks, but training is about self-reliance. Material goods are just distractions. I don't need it. Exchange failed. The mechanical voice rang out in my ear. I was startled for a split second before masking my reaction. Reborn. I immediately recognized this as Caleb's destiny exchange system. It worked by gifting items to trigger a transfer of talent. Seeing the flash of shock on Caleb's face, I knew the system was right. He had failed. He opened his mouth to argue, but the selection ceremony was about to begin, forcing him to stay silent. Outwardly, he was quiet. Internally, he was frantic. System. You said Julian would take it. Based on the protagonist's psychological profile, there was a 90% probability of acceptance. So, what happened? Unknown. Perhaps the 10% margin of error occurred. Fine. Whatever. I'll have plenty of chances to get close to him later. He assumed he would still have chances because he planned to join the same house as me under the same mentor. I wasn't sure if it was a side effect of Rebirth, but I could hear his mental conversation with the system clearly. Even if I hadn't heard their plan, I wasn't going to give Caleb an inch in this life. Julian Vane. Pure hydro affinity. Potential, S tier. The proctor's voice boomed through the grand hall. The selection had begun. I felt the weight of every gaze in the room. Single element affinity. S tier potential. Excellent. You may choose any master or house head present. The headmaster, sitting on the central throne, said with a benevolent smile. In my last life, I chose him. Caleb followed suit, joining the headmaster's elite circle. Sharing a mentor gave him infinite opportunities to corner me and gave the other elite students ample chances to mock me. Not this time. I wasn't going to pick the headmaster. I needed a mentor with absolutely zero resources, someone so checked out that they wouldn't bother me. I needed to isolate myself in deep training and give Caleb no opening. My eyes landed on a woman sitting near the headmaster. She had almost zero presence in the room, blending in like a civilian. I pointed firmly. I choose her as my mentor. Everyone's gaze followed my finger past the headmaster to the woman. Serafina Hart looked surprised for a fleeting second before an amused smirk touched her lips. The high-ranking officials in the room seemed to freeze. The headmaster looked even more intrigued. She doesn't count, the headmaster said. Choose again. Sterling, the kid picked me. That's fate. I'm taking him, Serafina drawled, her voice lazy. As soon as she spoke, the other masters exchanged nervous glances. They looked at me with sudden, heavy gravity. If you insist, Headmaster Sterling said, dropping the subject immediately. He is your apprentice. Serafina lounged on her floating dais, propping her head up with one hand and beckoning me with the other. Come here. I didn't understand the silent communication passing between the elders. I just thought she looked delightfully unconcerned compared to the stiff, formal masters. She clearly hadn't planned on taking a student. That meant she likely wouldn't interfere with my plan to go into hermit mode. Seeing her casual attitude reassured me. Even if Caleb tried to follow me, she wouldn't care enough to force us together. But Caleb's internal panic stopped me in my tracks. System, what the hell? Why didn't the protagonist pick the headmaster? Reason unknown. However, host, the mentor the protagonist selected, is the only transcendent tier entity in the academy. She is a demigod, half a step from total ascension. She is significantly more powerful than the headmaster. What? Caleb and I shared a look of shock. I stared at the smiling woman, the demigod, who was one step away from leaving this reality. Caleb recovered quickly. Of course, he's the protagonist. Even when he picks blindly, he lands the biggest shark in the tank. I was speechless. Could I tell him I picked her specifically because she looked useless? I guess my criteria were different for normal people's. Who knew the person with the least aura in the room was the heavy hitter? I was riding a tiger now. It was too late to get off. I wanted a nobody. I got a legend. Serafina yawned. Sterling, if we're done here, I'm taking my kid home. I want to join the same house as Julian. Caleb rushed forward, shouting the words. The entire hall focused on him. The proctor announced, Caleb Ford. Hydrodendro affinity. Potential, A tier. Caleb looked at me with nervous intensity. I feel a connection with Julian. We hit it off immediately. I want to support him on the path to ascension. Serafina didn't even look at him. She looked at me. Kid, you know him? I shook my head without hesitation. We met once. To me, cultivation is a solitary path. Relationships are just distractions. Caleb, not expecting the cold shoulder, put on his best puppy dog face. Julian, before he could continue, Serafina cut him off. Correct. The path to power is lonely. And frankly, even if you beg me to take him, even though you're the first person in a century to actually notice me at this ceremony, I wouldn't take him. Your personality suits my taste. You're my only student. She didn't even acknowledge Caleb's existence again. Before I could react, reality warped, and we vanished from the grand hall. Caleb gritted his teeth as he watched the empty space where I had been. He hadn't expected me to be so unapproachable this time around. But he figured as long as we were in the same academy, he could play the long game. Serafina transported me to a jagged, mist-shrouded peak. She turned to me. Your name is Julian Vane? I nodded. From now on, I'm your mentor. Say it. She looked at me with amusement. The die was cast. And since she had rejected Caleb, I was more than willing to play along. Mentor, good kid. Serafina smiled, her eyes crinkling. My name is Serafina Hart. I'm a transcendent of the Argent Spire. Easily one of the strongest people you'll ever meet. You won't regret sticking with me. She was being modest. According to Caleb's system, she was the strongest. I didn't call her out on it. I just listened. This is my personal peak. It has no name. You can come and go as you please. There's no danger here, but you'll need to build your own cabin. Don't worry, you're my first student. If you hit a wall in your training, just shout my name. But just in case. She pulled a jade pendant from thin air and tossed it to me. I hesitated, conditioned by my past life, but caught it. A transcendent had no need to use underhanded tricks to hurt me. Seeing me take it, she asked, any questions? I shook my head. I planned to go into isolation anyway. As long as I had a place to train and hide from Caleb, I was good. The following days were peaceful. Without Caleb and his sycophants, my progress was explosive. I broke through to the awakened rank in record time. Just as I was settling in for another long meditation session, Serafina showed up. Not bad, kid. Awakened rank already? You remind me of myself. Serafina was lounging on a floating sword, looking pleased. Honestly, this had been the most productive period of my existence across 2 lifetimes. If she hadn't appeared, I might have forgotten I even had a mentor. I stood up and bowed. Mentor? Oh, so you remember? She smirked. You haven't come to find me once since you got here. I almost forgot I had an apprentice. My apologies. I was too engrossed in the trance. Admitting fault was the quickest way out. Ah, the burden of a talented student, she sighed theatrically. Still better than a dumb one. I'm here for 2 reasons. 1, congratulations. Here's a gift. It's just material stuff, but what others have, my student must have too. 2, the grand tournament is coming up. All freshmen have to participate. Get ready. Though with your current rank, you'll walk all over them. She tossed a dimensional pouch at me. Noticing my hesitation last time, she practically shoved it into my chest. I checked the contents. High-grade elixirs and artifacts perfectly suited for my level. She had been watching me closely. Compared to Caleb's flashy, bragging gifts in my last life, Seraphina's care was genuine. Thank you, Mentor. I don't know how to repay you. At least you have a conscience, she sniffed. Just take first place in the tournament. Yes, Mentor. I hadn't planned on standing out. I wanted to stay low until I was strong enough to crush Caleb's schemes effortlessly. But the tournament was mandatory, and I couldn't ignore her request. I decided to go all out. In my past life, I gained nothing from this event, while Caleb became the star. I wondered if history would repeat itself. As I pondered strategy, Seraphina spoke casually. By the way, while you were in isolation, that kid Caleb came by a few times. I knew he wouldn't give up. What did you tell him? I didn't see him, she said. The construct guarding the mountain kicked him out because you were busy. Did he bring anything? I asked quickly. He did, but he insisted on giving it to you personally, so he took it back when he was denied entry. I exhaled. Mentor, I don't have a good relationship with him. If he comes back, please let the constructs drive him away, and never accept his gifts. Seraphina looked thoughtful. Relax. The kid has shifting eyes. Staying away from him is smart. A few days later, the grand tournament began. Seraphina dropped me off at the plaza and vanished, claiming she was allergic to crowds. It didn't take long for Caleb to sniff me out. Julian. He acted surprised. Long time no see. I tried to visit you at your peak, but the guard said you were in deep training and kicked me out. I was hoping to see you here. And wow, first person I see. He made it sound like I was avoiding him on purpose. Which I was. But I was ready for this. You are. I feigned ignorance. He choked on his words. Julian, it's me, Caleb. We started together? The selection ceremony. Right, I said, pretending to remember. We only met once. You shouldn't harass the mountain guards, Junior. You went so often you disrupted their patrol patterns. My mentor was quite annoyed. Anyway, the tournament is starting. Good luck. Wait, Julian. I made these booster pills for you. Please take them. Despite the mockery, Caleb didn't flinch. He tried to jam a bottle of pills into my hand, but I was already awakened. I sidestepped him effortlessly, appearing behind him. Keep them, Junior. I'm already awakened. I don't need entry-level drugs. Just then, the announcer called my name. I walked toward the arena. Behind me, the frantic dialogue between Caleb and the system buzzed in my ears. What's going on? The plot says he shouldn't be awakened yet. Why is he so fast? Scanning. No anomalies detected. The host's presence may have caused the timeline to diverge. So what do? The system can only facilitate the exchange. Securing the protagonist's cooperation is up to the host. You're useless. Caleb screamed internally. They were flying blind. They knew the book, but they couldn't monitor my real-time status. My isolation strategy was working perfectly. The tournament was a massacre. As an awakened fighting initiate-level rookies, I dominated. I became the sensation of the day. Caleb, on the other hand, without my stolen destiny to prop him up, was mediocre at best. He didn't even make the quarterfinals. I was preparing to leave when Caleb reappeared. This time, he brought backup. Just like in the original timeline, after failing to join Seraphina, he had joined Headmaster Sterling's faction. He was flanked by the elite bullies from my past life. So this is the Julian Vane our junior keeps praising? Brock Stone, the eldest disciple, sneered. Tiffany Price looked me up and down. Awakened in a year? He's got an ego to match. He's only tough when beating up novices, Marcus Cole added. Let's see him try that attitude with us. They released their collective pressure, the heavy, suffocating aura of the ascendant rank. It hit me from all sides. I braced myself, knees locking. I have no relationship with your junior. I gritted out. I have no reason to accept his gifts. They kept the pressure on, enjoying my struggle. See? I told you, Caleb said, putting on a heartbroken performance. He thinks I'm annoying, even after I tried to give him these rare pills. Caleb had decided that if he couldn't charm me, he would force me. Today, the protagonist was taking the bait whether he liked it or not. Junior, how could anyone dislike you? Tiffany cooed. Here's an idea. While we hold him down with our aura, you just shove the pills down his throat. Problem solved. She had spoken the desire of his heart aloud, but he had a persona to maintain. Tiffany, I don't know. Isn't that a bit rough? Brock scoffed. Who cares? In this world, the strong make the rules. The weak submit. Think about how he treated you versus how you treated him. Caleb pretended to be persuaded. He started walking toward me, pill bottle in hand. Julian, I am sorry. You broke my heart, man. He looked like a betrayed saint, but the greed in his eyes was manic. As he got closer, my expression darkened. Since I wouldn't play along, he was going for a forced transaction. I prepared to activate the jade Pen and Seraphina gave me. Suddenly, the three seniors went airborne, slamming into the invisible barrier of the arena. Seraphina materialized in front of me, her white dress flowing as if underwater. You didn't check whose student you were bullying, did you? The crushing weight of a transcendence slammed onto their heads. They couldn't even twitch, let alone stand. Master, Hart? Brock gasped, face pressed into the pavement. Why are you here? Compared to the ascendant pressure they used on me, this was the difference between a water pistol and a tsunami. Caleb, who wasn't even awakened, was practically liquefied on the ground. Seraphina looked as bored as ever, but the air around her vibrated with rage. My student is here. Why shouldn't I be? What? They stammered. Julian Vane is your student. Correct. I've been watching the whole time. I didn't realize Sterling was teaching his disciples to gang up on their own classmates. Seraphina's eyes narrowed dangerously. Master Hart, we didn't know. Brock pleaded. If we knew he was yours, we never would have touched him. So it's okay to bully other students, just not mine? Seraphina tilted her head. I should have a chat with Sterling about his curriculum. No, please don't tell the headmaster. We were just trying to stand up for Caleb. He said someone was picking on him. Yeah, we weren't going to hurt him, just scare him. Seraphina retracted her aura. I'll let you off this once out of respect for Sterling. But if I catch you pulling this garbage again, I'll enforce academy law myself. They scrambled up, looking like they'd escaped a firing squad. Thank you, Master Hart. Thank you. Sorry, Julian. We made a mistake. Watching them bow and scrape was a stark contrast to my past life. They were right about one thing. The strong make the rules. Scram. And Teacher Junior, the hierarchy around here. Make sure he knows who he can and cannot touch. Seraphina returned to her languid posture, but no one dared look down on her now. Brock and the others grabbed the unconscious Caleb and vanished. Senior Brock, when Caleb wakes up, we need to have serious words with him. Why didn't he tell us Julian was Seraphina's kid? You're damn right we do. Caleb was going to have a rough semester. After Seraphina praised my victory, I returned to isolation. Seasons turned. Years passed in the blink of an eye. I woke from a trance to find myself at the peak of the awakened rank, one step from becoming an ascendant. Seraphina was there again. You've got patience, kid, she said, sounding bored. I thought taking an apprentice would be more exciting. You're basically a statue. I stood up. Is something wrong, Mentor? Over the years, despite her scarcity, I had grown fond of her. She had saved me. The fractured dimension has opened, she said. You can't just train the mind. You need to train the body. The thought of going to a pocket dimension meant running into Caleb. I wasn't strong enough to face him comfortably yet. Mentor, I don't want to go. She grinned conspiratorially. I knew you'd say that. Everyone who wants to go is already inside. Then why tell me? Because I opened a back door for you. She pointed to a shimmering rift in the air. Since you hate crowds as much as I do, I made you a private entrance. You can bypass the lobby and drop straight into the good zones. Go on. Before I could refuse, gravity reversed. I was sucked in. The place has been picked over, but there's still good loot if you're lucky. Her voice faded as I tumbled through the void. I landed in a strange, geometric space, a legacy chamber. Meanwhile, Caleb was scouring the main zones of the dimension. Since Seraphina ruined his plans, his seniors had kept him on a short leash, preventing him from harassing me. When he saw the entry list for the dimension didn't include my name, he panicked. He and the system had decided that if I wasn't there to have my destiny stolen directly, stealing my designated story loot would work as a proxy. Damn it. The divine beast egg should be right here. Did the loot pawn just because the protagonist didn't log in? Caleb stood on a precarious cliff ledge, staring into an empty nest. The wind howled up from the abyss. In the original novel, this was where I found my companion. Caleb had risked his life climbing up here, only to find dust. Suddenly, storm clouds gathered above the dimension. A figure shot up into the sky, hovering beneath the roiling thunderheads. Caleb's eyes widened. He recognized me instantly. The hell? How is he here? He wasn't on the manifest. Watching me undergo the trial of ascension, the lightning storm that marks the transition to Golden Core, Caleb snapped. Envy consumed him. It's all his fault. If he just followed the script, if he hadn't hidden away, I wouldn't be climbing this stupid mountain. Lost in his rage, he didn't notice a stray bolt of tribulation lightning arc away from me. It struck him silently. His muscles locked up instantly. He tipped backward, falling silently from the nest into the abyss below. I knew none of this. I was busy fighting the storm. When I exited the dimension, I was a fully minted ascendant. My haul was massive. A supreme cultivation manual from the legacy chamber, rare herbs, and a stone egg that Seraphina claimed had phoenix bloodlines. Since cutting Caleb out of my life, my path had been smooth sailing. But I couldn't rest. The invasion of the Void Legion was coming. That was my death date. As long as that day hadn't passed, the shadow of my murder hung over me. I trained like a man possessed. I forgot Caleb even existed. On the day I broke through to the Paragon rank, the level of a true master, I asked Seraphina to mask the atmospheric disturbance. No one but her knew I had ascended. And then, the sky turned black. The Void Legion arrived. Standing at the gates of the Argent Spire, I watched the black tide of demons crash against our shields. The memory of my death paralyzed me for a second. I forced myself to breathe. I wasn't the weak awakened fodder I used to be. I was a paragon. I gripped my sword. Moonlight on the water. I swung. A crescent of pure energy swept out, decapitating 100 demons before they even saw the blade. The morale of the defenders exploded. Which elder just came out of seclusion? That was incredible. You idiot. That's Julian Vane, Seraphina's student. He's in my year, though I've only seen him like twice. I can't believe he's already a paragon. What? That's Senior Vane. The younger students looked at me with hero worship. They couldn't believe someone so young wielded the power of an elder. I felt awkward under the spotlight, so I nodded curtly and waded back into the slaughter. The trauma of my past life dissolved with every demon I cut down. I was turning the tide. The students looked at me with awe, except one person. Caleb Ford was on the battlefield, dirty and forgotten. Watching me shine like a god while he was stuck at the mid-ascendant stage broke something inside him. It's his fault. I should be the paragon. I should be the hero. His face twisted into a mask of hate, smoothing out only when someone looked his way. Senior, you must be tired. I have a mana potion for you. Please take it. I had pushed deep into the enemy lines, isolated from the main force. The voice stopped me. It was so familiar. I turned to see Caleb, but the mask had slipped. The malice in his eyes was almost physical. Hurry, Senior. Take the potion. He was practically vibrating with the need to hand it to me. But I was a paragon. I stepped sideways, and my aura pinned him in place. He stopped pretending. Senior, just help me out. Just take the damn potion, so I can have your destiny. Why won't you take it? If you had just accepted my gifts, I would be the one saving everyone. I would be the paragon. Why did you switch mentors? Why did you hide? What? He was screaming like a lunatic. I watched him impassively. There was no reasoning with him. He. Caleb laughed darkly. It doesn't matter. If you die, your destiny becomes free real estate. I can still be the main character. He popped a pill into his own mouth. His aura spiked violently, artificially jumping to match my rank. He broke my hold and lunged. Just die for me. I wasn't afraid. Seraphina had been using me as a sparring dummy for years. I knew how to fight someone stronger than me, let alone a drug-fueled fake. I dodged his chaotic swings, analyzing his pattern. Tidal moonrise. A spectral moon materialized above Caleb's head. As I struck, the sound of crashing waves filled his ears, louder and louder. At the crest of the phantom wave, I delivered a simple, clean strike. The energy dissipated. Caleb collapsed like a puppet with cut strings. Host vital signs failing. Scenario unwinnable. System initiating emergency decoupling. His eyes glazed over, blood bubbling from his lips. No. Impossible. I'm the protagonist. How? System? Don't leave. I heard it all. I wanted to stop the system from escaping. I didn't care about saving Caleb. I wanted to know what this parasite was. I scanned him with my psychic sense, but I found nothing. Just as I was about to give up, Seraphina appeared. Finally found you. Now this. This looks fun. I didn't know how long she'd been there. Even as a paragon, I couldn't sense the bottom of her power. And she wasn't talking to me. She was looking at empty air. The air shimmered and distorted, trapped. A moment later, she turned to me. You did good, kid. You cleaned up the mess. I taught you well. Thank you, mentor, I said, bowing. I need to go help the others. Seraphina's eyes sparkled with a strange light. Go. The road ahead is long. She seemed to be implying something deeper, but it didn't matter. As long as I kept getting stronger, nothing could stop me. Everything that had happened was just a stepping stone on my path to the stars. Story complete.